What's going on, guys? This is Kyle with Legion Certified, and I am back with my review of the BlackBerry Keyone. So first off, I've got to say that out of any device that I've owned in the past, I was really excited to open the BlackBerry Keyone for the first time. The second I received it in the mail, I unboxed it, I held it in my hand, and I immediately had this feeling of nostalgia and joy that just overcame my body. I think that any previous BlackBerry owner who has had a BlackBerry in the past and loved their BlackBerry going forward with the Keyone in their hand is just going to have an amazing time, amazing experience, and just holding the device in the hand is awesome. So I've got to say, I've actually had a couple of questions referring to the BlackBerry Priv and the BlackBerry Keyone, which one I think most consumers would be happy with, and really depends on your use case scenario. For example, I myself enjoyed the Priv and I love the Keyone, and looking at both devices for what they actually are and what they offer is really key as to what you're getting in the package. So I have to say right off the bat that if you are a person who's looking into buying a Priv, because they are cheaper right now, they are a decent BlackBerry device, it has a little bit better specifications than the Keyone and what have you, I think if you are into content and viewing media, that screen is going to be more important to you on the Priv. Now, if you are into getting stuff done and actually having the functionality of that physical keyboard and being able to just hammer out emails and messages and phone calls and go about your everyday life without viewing so much content, then I think the BlackBerry Keyone is the device for you. For example, I have so many devices that I can enjoy content on. I find myself picking up those devices to view content. For example, I have a MacBook Air. I watch videos on there. I would never really truly watch YouTube on my phone unless I'm outside in the street or doing something, whatever the case may be. And even then, the Keyone still does a passable job. So I think it lies in the question, what do you intend on using your device for? The better communicator out of the two is definitely the Keyone, but if that media content experience for you is important, the BlackBerry Priv is definitely the way to go. So diving right into this review, I have to say that the BlackBerry Keyone has the best battery life that I've ever experienced on a device other than the Moto Z Play. You have the Snapdragon 625, that of course is a energy sipper, a power sipper. It's a great processor, it gets things done. I have no problems with the 625. It's an awesome processor. It may not be the most powerful to game with and things like that, but if you want a phone that just functions as a phone and has a smooth, nice experience, I haven't had any issues with the BlackBerry Keyone and the 625. So jumping into the specs a little bit more, you have a 1080p display, 433 ppi, 4.5 inch display, which by all means definitely gets the job done. I think the 4.5 inch display, if you are a person who does not enjoy big phones, it really hits the sweet spot. I think 5 inches to 4.5 inches is really the bare minimum when it comes to the screen size. So if you are a person who really likes those form-fitting phones in your hand, then you'll definitely love the Keyone. But like I said, if you are a person who enjoys viewing content, you may or may not like that. It's only 4.5 inches, and it's funny saying because we've come so far. The iPhone 4 was, I think, 4 inches in screen size, and it is so teeny looking back at, oh my god, phones are getting bigger and bigger, but I guess that's the technology industry for you, right? So the Keyone is running Android Nougat 7.1 right out of the box. Like I stated before, you have the Snapdragon 625 with the Adreno 506. You've got 3 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. and then that's of course is expandable with an SD card. And keep in mind I'm reviewing the silver edition, not the limited edition black one that has, I think, 4 gigabytes of RAM and 64 gigabytes of storage. Sorry. So keep in mind my experience has had less RAM, but from what I hear and what I understand, that extra gigabyte of RAM doesn't really offer much in the performance window of things, so my experience has been with the 3 gigabytes of RAM. So for the battery pack, we've got a 3505 milliamp hour battery. For the camera, we have a 12 megapixel shooter with autofocus, large pixels. This is straight from BlackBerry's website, that can shoot 4K at 30 frames per second. On the front-facing camera, we've got an 8 megapixel camera, which takes decent selfies. So that was just a quick little overview of the specs. Now, jumping right into the user experience, I've had a device since launch. I absolutely love the Keyone. It's actually my favorite device of the year. I think that out of every device that I own, the Keyone is always going to have a place in my pocket. I keep finding myself going right back to it. It's just one of those devices that you pick up, the nostalgia takes over, and the fact that you can get things done so easily and quickly and nice, and that feeling of having the keyboard in your hand is just awesome. So this all metal aluminum body that BlackBerry decided to go with really speaks to me. When you hold it, you just feel it, you feel confident, you feel like the device is practically indestructible. And the only thing that I kind of wish that they had changed a little bit about the design is probably the back piece, being that it's plastic and it has like these little dimples in it. The dimples I enjoy, but maybe going back to like the classic leather back on a BlackBerry, oh man, just having that feel again is just awesome. I miss that so much. I wish they would go back to that and just, or who knows, maybe make a limited edition with the leather back. I would definitely sell this one and purchase that one, no problem. Really, what impresses me the most about this device is probably the fact that it's, you know, like a candy bar form factor, but it just feels comfortable in the hand. It feels easy to use. I feel like you can give this device to anyone and they'll be able to pick it up and right away just start typing emails and messages and going back and forth and communicating with people. And I really think that this device reminds me of a tool rather than an actual phone. And it's crazy to think that BlackBerry had this right so many years ago and then they lost track, and now they're going back in the right direction. And I think that this new direction that they have going with Android is really improving customer experiences and customers coming back to the actual brand of BlackBerry. I find that everyone that I talk to has a great experience now with the Keyone, anyone who owns one. And I find that, for example, I gave the actual device to my girlfriend, and the first thing she said to me was, "Oh my god, the keys feel so nice. It feels so nice holding this." And mind you, she is an iPhone user, an all touchscreen user. And for me to hear her say that, it kind of gave me this feeling of joy and happiness, oddly enough. So having to do with the keyboard, the actual biggest change about the keyboard from past BlackBerry devices probably has to be the space bar being a fingerprint sensor. And I think BlackBerry really hit a home run with that decision. I think using the spacebar as the fingerprint sensor was a stroke of genius. Whoever came up with that idea should definitely get a promotion, because I enjoy it. I actually think that going forward, every device that has a keyboard on it, whatever device they decide to make going forward, definitely needs a fingerprint sensor on the spacebar. BlackBerry should never get rid of that technology. It's actually awesome. Speaking of which, the keyboard also doubles as long press and short press shortcut buttons. You know, you can assign a shortcut to pretty much every key by short pressing it or long pressing it, and I really enjoy the shortcuts. I don't use them as often as I should because I'm just so used to reaching up and touching the icon for whichever app that I've got, but when I do use them, they really do come in handy. For example, laying in bed, typing on the keyboard at nighttime is really useful. The ability to swipe and edit text and the latest update has this little sub menu that gives you more options when editing text. Just really comes in handy, and I love it. So one of the features that I actually came to take for granted was actually the headphone jack. Yes, they do have a headphone jack in the Keyone, and me being a iPhone user slash Galaxy user slash Keyone user, those are probably the three devices that I'm cycling through most often. Whenever I come to the iPhone and jump right into the Keyone or the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, I find myself missing you know, that realizing like, hey, I was on an Apple device and I didn't have that headphone jack, and you know, I use it actually more often than I thought I would, and it's kind of crazy. So I have to touch on probably the most important feature that the BlackBerry Keyone offers, and that's really battery life. I mean, I put this thing on the charger. You've got fast charging, first of all, and then after, you know, you engage the boost mode and it does whatever it does software wise, where it cuts off non-essential features and it charges super fast. After you charge it to 100%, I mean, you're going for at least 2 to 3 days minimum, you know, without having to charge it again, depending on your usage, of course. But I was getting about 3 days before the thing would just completely die, and the battery life is just amazing. Like, I don't have any other device that competes with it in battery life. It blows the iPhone and the S8 out of the water. So now there's been a little bit of a controversy. I've talked to multiple people who've owned the Keyone and said, hey, you know what, to avoid the actual hub from taking up so many resources, you should run it as a stock Android device and, you know, essentially disable all the hub features. And you know, whenever I hear someone say that, I say to myself, well, what's the point of owning a BlackBerry? Is it really just to have a physical keyboard? Because I don't know, I find all the BlackBerry software to be helpful and useful, more so than Google's own software. And it's funny, I see when BlackBerry introduces some of these apps and features that they have to the Android ecosystem. Some of these apps have been out for a long time, you know, the calendar apps and things like that, but I love the BlackBerry Calendar app. I find it much easier than the Google app, but that's just my personal experience. So whenever I hear someone say, oh, you should run it as a stock Android device, I say to myself, well, what's the point? What's the point of owning the device if you're not going to use what they're giving you software wise? I mean, I really feel that BlackBerry hit a home run with the device in general. If you're not using the BlackBerry services and apps, then there's no real point of owning the device. You can just get a S8 and get the keyboard case or something like that for it, and you'll have a stock feeling Android device. But that's, you know, me personally, I feel that it's pretty pointless to me, is all I gotta say. So now, touching on the camera experience, my camera experience with the Keyone has been great, I would say. Not the most amazing, but great. Compared to the iPhone and the Galaxy, I would have to say that those two devices set the bar for mobile phone cameras. And the Keyone is not far behind that. It's just lacking 1 or 2 features, a little bit of software image processing that those other devices have at their disposal, being that they're so expensive. And I guess Apple and Samsung really put a lot of technology and a lot of research and development into the software aspect of their camera. Who is this device really for? I think the BlackBerry Keyone speaks to the people out there who feel nostalgic about owning a BlackBerry, but also want a device that encourages them to communicate with others rather than just stare at social media and watch YouTube videos. In the long run, I think the BlackBerry Keyone is probably the most worthy of being in someone's pocket when it comes to them being a business person or an employer or someone who really must stay on top of their business, stay on top of communicating with everyone in their team, going back and forth throughout the day, and really having that road warrior of a device. If you are looking to purchase the Keyone, you definitely cannot go wrong. But if you are the person that enjoys gaming, enjoys video content viewing aspects of having a phone, the Keyone is not the device for you. In reality, I think the Keyone is probably the perfect device for me. Funny enough. So this has been my BlackBerry Keyone review. Let me know what you guys think. Look out for more content from me, and this is Kyle with Legion Certified signing out.